All good, man. So you guys are live right now on the Zach Moonshine show with Metal Devastation fucking radio. We just got done blasting Nomad, and
right on.
Hell yeah, man! Fucking badass fucking shit right there, dude. Fucking love it, man.
Thank
So tell us what's going on in the world of Cultic.
Right now, I mean, we're just at the tail end of like releasing this album. I think we played our last show for the year, like last month, and we're just hanging out.
Hell yeah!
The wheels don't stop turning. We're already starting to write for the next one already, so we're starting to churn over some ideas and going over, making some withdrawals from the riff bank.
Train keeps it going.
Awesome. Well, for the people out there listening, man, that maybe don't know, about you guys, can you give us a brief history rundown of how the band got started and how long you guys been doing this?
My wife and I, who's sitting right here,
Hi.
yeah, we started the band, I think 9 years ago. It was just a two-piece, and then we had a bass player, Reese Harlacker. He joined probably about a year and a half into the band. And when we first started, I mean, we didn't really have any like real intentions as to like where we were, where we wanted to take things. But here we are.
We didn't have any plans. We were just gonna play music in the bedroom and call it Dungeon Wench.
Yeah, our original name was supposed to be called Dungeon Wench, hence the name of the song on our last album, Lore.
Hell yeah, love it, man.
Thank you.
So what happened? Like, how did it transition from the bedroom to this?
Wow. Well, after Reese joined, we started playing shows, and it's just been spiraling from there. I mean,
we've been spiraling.
Yeah, we've been spiraling. I guess what happened? Reese had to quit during COVID. He moved, and then, well, I mean,
yeah, I mean, I would say we started out not really having a plan, right? We were just having a good time, and then we started kind of taking it more seriously, I guess, in some respects. But I think for both of us, it's always been more about the process of creating things, and I don't think we ever sat down and said, "Hey, this is what we're gonna do," right? It wasn't like we planned it. It just kept evolving, and we don't know when to turn it off, so we just keep pushing and pushing, and eventually we had an album. And now we have 3 albums, and Andrew joined, and it just kind of evolved, I guess, over the years. But it's always been about making music together, and it's always been kind of a concept band. Everything we do comes from the same place, same story, and we did play on that kind of early on because we like the art side of it. We like creating the covers, creating the concepts, all of that. So
yeah, we're definitely an art band.
Oh hell yeah! Well, you know what?
I remember back in the day when they were first starting, because we're all from the same town, and I was actually sitting at the bar with the old bass player. He's a buddy of mine as well, outside of Cultic world, and I remember him playing me demos for Cultic. And all those years ago, I literally looked at him. I said, "This shit rules." And I told him, I was like, "Reese, if you ever quit this band, I'm going to try to join this band."
He totally showed up one day and he had a bottle of wine, and I was like, "All right, let's do it."
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
So
man.
I remember seeing them in various venues around us, and just like they had an awesome energy about them, just like really no frills, just like they've got you pinned against the wall with a knife to your throat kind of sound. And I was like, that's awesome. And I was living in Baltimore, and then I moved back up after the pandemic. I moved back to Pennsylvania, and so they reached out, and I'd been looking for something in the area, and I'm glad they reached out, and it's been working out great.
Man, I think that's awesome. The way that you say that you just started it with just doing something like not really planning anything out, just having a good time, just doing what you do, and like I think some of the best stuff comes from stories like that where it's just like there's no actual there's no real goal set in mind. I think you're just jamming, just
Totally.
making some noise, man, and see where it
The
goes.
project itself,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at, it's funny because like Becky and I didn't really play instruments often before we started this. Like I had quit playing guitar forever, and I started playing guitar like a couple years before Cultic. But like, I mean, we weren't like really, involved in the music scene or anything. It was just, it was just spawned out of an idea.
I think it goes further back than that too, because we met creating stuff together like before music. We're both designers, and before we dated, he gave me a freelance project to help him with, which was totally the worst freelance project I've ever had in my life. I'd never do it again. He worked for Century Media at the time, and we had to do a website where we animated the album cover for Death Angel's Killing Season.
Hell yeah.
And he had me trace around like 5,000 bones in Photoshop. I'm amazed we're still together. But yeah, like I think, we've just always done that. Like that's what makes us happy, and that's kind of where it started, and just keeps going. And then Andrew joined, and he's really kicked it up like to another level. Like he's brought a lot of really cool stuff to the band.
Man, speaking of that, what's it like being in a band with your spouse?
I'm gonna let him answer that because I want to know what he says.
Whenever I first met Rebecca, I never imagined that we'd be playing music together. I mean, she's always been an artist at heart, but I never imagined us doing that together. I mean, I played in bands. I just turned 51. I've been playing in bands since I was a teenager. So I mean, I've been doing it for a long time, on and off. And to answer your question, I love it. I wouldn't have it any other way. But I just couldn't imagine doing that whenever I first met her.
Yeah, I think it's a mutual thing. Like we get along, and we're on the same page. You know what I mean? Like, so creating together just feels natural.
Definitely takes it to a whole nother level, for sure. Like
yeah, it's fun. We're having a lot of fun.
Yeah. Like I do Metal Devastation. Like I run this company and the festival and everything with my wife too. So, I mean, like we're not making music together, but we work together. So, it's definitely a cool thing to be able to do that with your significant other. Because I don't know, it's just feels natural.
Yeah, it gives you another depth to your relationship. I think it's rewarding.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
You guys, you were mentioning the art earlier, man, and that's one of the things that drew me into you right away was the album artwork, man. It's fucking beautiful, amazing shit, man. All of it, dude. Like all the records, all the singles, EPs, everything, man. It's just amazing. But can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, thank you. I do all of the artwork itself. So I do painting, mostly oil paints. Also do drawings and ink and different things like that. So I kind of use it as an outlet to paint and do. I do our T-shirt, our artwork, and different things like that. So I've pretty much always created everything for the band, but Brian does a lot of the design work then, so he'll take that and put the covers together, assemble the whole CD and posters and all the different materials and things like that. So we split that too. But
we definitely try to make all of that congruent. So like if you look at our album cover and then you look at our video and you look at our photography and you look at our design work, it all, if you would stack it up on a board, it's all comes from the same place for each album, especially on this album. I mean, if you really look at like how we put all that together, I mean, it's all in the
And
same
we're
thing.
both total nerds. I mean, we love like old school Frazetta and Vallejo, and, you know, all those fantasy artists like Whelan, and like I'm obsessed with that stuff. So this is like an opportunity for me to kind of use the band as an outlet for that, which is a lot of fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say it reminds me of the old heavy metal comics and shit, man. Fucking the artwork and stuff. Yeah, Frazetta. Yeah, you're right, man. Like, yeah, like I actually when I first saw it, that's what I thought was that you guys must have got one of those guys to do something or some shit, you know? Seriously.
I'll take it.
Yeah. That's really
Yeah, we go every year. There's a event in Reading where they have a lot of those original illustrators. Like Vallejo goes to it every year, so that's a spot worth dropping by. And the Frazetta Museum's actually in Pennsylvania too, so if you're ever around, that's a super cool spot. And his grandkids will give you the tour of his work, which is pretty cool.
Hell yeah. Have you ever been commissioned to do any artwork for anybody else, or is it just for the band?
I have. I'm very picky and choosy about what I take, just because I work slowly and I try to do this for fun. So I don't take a lot of commissions where there's really specific requests or if it doesn't really fit my style or something like that. But done work for Wrath of Typhon, Book of Worms. Who else?
Eternal Armageddon.
Yeah, there's actually one of the pieces there's a book called Infected by Art. One of the album covers ended up in that book. Spellbook, that's another.
Actually,
we've done a lot of work
before they were Spellbook though.
Yeah, they were Witch Hazel then. So yeah, I've done a lot of Faux Hammer. I've done a lot of them over the years. I did some work for Shadow Woods Metal Fest. Actually, it was Shadow Frost.
Yeah.
Metal Fest. That was when they did the one in the hotel.
The winter.
Yeah.
Yeah, Spellbook.
So yeah, I do take them, but only like a few a year.
Spellbook is awesome too. Yeah, I've had them on the show before, man. Really cool band.
Yeah. Yeah, they're super cool.
Andrew's an original member of Spellbook.
He is.
I am. I started that band when I was in high school.
Nice. Hell yeah. Were you here on that episode?
No, I left the band in 2014-ish.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can't remember when
It was fun. I was on their first two albums. And their first EP, if you could get that. That first EP was amazing. There was this random guy in our, nowhere town, York County, Pennsylvania, who did sound for the WWF. That was his job. And he had this mixing board that we recorded through used to be owned by Bon Jovi, which was crazy. And I just remember going in, and he's like, "What do you want your bass to sound like?" I was like, "Grand Funk," and he knew exactly what I wanted. It was amazing. Best sounding demo I ever recorded.
Nice. Yeah, I think I interviewed them when they released Magic and Mischief.
Okay, yeah. I think there's some of my old stuff on there. Maybe, I don't know.
That's a really cool fucking record too, man.
Yeah.
Very.
Yeah, I mean, there's stuff's great. I mean, I like it. I joke with them. It's like I love the band so much more now that I'm not in it.
Yeah, it's super underrated shit, man.
It was a tough time. I mean, because it was like back then, like there wasn't really, I don't know, in our area, we had a hard time keeping guitarists around and like finding guitarists who like knew what we were trying to do. And it's amazing that they've finally found two guitar players that are like, on the level. Because that was always the problem with us.
I feel like this area has very specific genres that are really popular.
Yeah.
Always have been, and I wouldn't say doom metal's necessarily up there.
I wouldn't say, yeah.
But yeah.
Here and there, but they don't necessarily know how to do it. There used to be a band back in the day. I don't even know if they were a doom band, but they were called Fruit of the Doom, which I always thought was a clever name.
Like Fruit of the Loom.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Nice. Hell yeah. So, well, tell us about these videos that you guys have, man. Really cool videos, too.
Yeah, we DIY all of it.
That's
we
awesome.
we do the videos, too. So Brian's got some background doing video editing, and we really just film everything on our phones and
On your
DIY the
phones?
whole thing.
Yeah, it's all done on a phone. Except
iPhones.
our last video was shot professionally. The live
Right, we had
the live footage was shot by a videographer with like a high-end camera and stuff. But that was the live action stuff. But like the
Nomad,
the Nomad, the Warrior out in the woods, that's all phone footage. And our first videos, Beseech the Olden Throne. That was shot
a good story.
That was shot on a phone, and Forest the Knives was shot on a phone. And
we did have that one friend come out though that he had the
yeah, we used a drone on that
camera.
one, and we used the drone camera on part of that. But we had no idea what we were doing during that video. I mean, but a lot of that was phone footage.
And the horse was actually my family's horse. So not everybody has a horse at their disposal, but we were lucky.
That's crazy awesome, man. Yeah, I didn't know that you guys were doing that with your phone. Like, that's...
Yeah, a lot of it's on the phone. And the Beseech video from our last album, that was in the middle of COVID, and it was right after Reese moved. He's on the album, but he wasn't in the video. And we ended up filming that, just the two of us, on tripods and phones. And he actually filmed each other separately, and then he put us into the scene together because we had to DIY it and we didn't have anyone else there to man the camera. So he found a way to kind of take us and put us into the scene together, but they were actually filmed separately.
And it's all like green screened.
Yeah.
So we just shot on a green screen and then like I built like a world inside of After Effects.
That's why it's so wild looking, because we had to push it really far to make it work. You know what I mean? Like, if you're going to do something not totally believable, you have to make it really unbelievable, you know?
Hell yeah. Well, so tell us about your, like this sound that you guys have. You know, it's a mix of different things, black metal, doom, dungeon synth, all that. Like, how did you guys put all that together?
I think it just developed naturally. Like when we first started the band, I really wanted to, I love like Celtic, like early like Celtic Frost and Winter. I like that sound, and I always like attributed like Winter to being like slow Celtic Frost, but I wanted to like build upon that aesthetic. So like our first album, I think like if you really listen to the songs, describe the production of it or whatever. Like if you like just really listen to the songs, it's very Winter inspired. But after that, we just kept on piling on more influences, and I think that's how we came to where we are right now. I mean, now we're pretty far away from that. I think at least.
Yeah, I think people still compare us to that, but most of the time they don't really know what to compare us to.
Yeah, it's mostly the vocals, like some of my vocal delivery, like I really, have that in mind whenever I write the arrangements.
But I think that one thing we've always stuck to is that we want it to be really heavy, really stripped down, and kind of danceable, but also kind of crude at the same time. Like it needs to sound dirty and nasty. Like that's something that we've always kind of stuck with. But
yeah, organic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and we definitely write very unrelenting music. Like there's not a lot of breaks in there, and that's intentional.
Well, tell us about your influences, like growing up and stuff. Like, what were some of the music? What were some of the bands, records that you got into when you were really young, that opened you up to music, and how did you transition from that to like what you're doing now?
Well, yeah. I mean, I've been listening to heavy metal for 40 years, so like,
Yeah.
it's when I first got into heavy metal, it was like, Def Leppard, like early Def Leppard,
Yeah.
Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, Dio, Black Sabbath, like all of the classic kind of stuff. I mean that's really my go-to most of the time. But I guess I transitioned more into extreme stuff, like in the late 80s. It's like Stormtrooper's Death and Anthrax and Metallica and Slayer and all that, Megadeth, and all the typical stuff. It wasn't until like I went to college where I really became interested in like the extremes of heavy metal. Like I got it really into like grindcore, and, extreme death metal and that kind of stuff. So that's my basically my map there.
Yeah, I was like a little punker as a kid. My older brother actually had a bass guitar, and he only played it for about a month or two, and he quit. And I wanted to pick it up simply because I just wanted to like best him in something. Because he was like 5 years older than him, so like I could never like beat him up. I always had to wage kind of a guerrilla war against him. So I saw he got this bass and he quit after a month. I was like, you know what? I'm going to learn how to play that thing better than he can. And I started raiding his CD collection. And it's actually funny. The very first like heavy kind of riff I ever got into was actually a live, that band Live from the 90s, who's actually from our hometown. It's like a riff. It was the song's called Lakini's Juice. Anyway, that was like the first time I heard like a distorted guitar, and I was like, oh, this is cool. So then I started finding his other CDs, and the first CD that caught my eye was Megadeth's So Far So Good So What. He had that and Euthanasia on CD. And so I kind of tucked that into my mind, but then I got into punk, really into like the UK 82 sound. But in the back of my mind, like metal was kind of always there. But I started playing in bands in like 5th grade, just like, in kids, garages and stuff. And then I started like a thrash band in high school, and also started Witch Hazel at the end of high school. And I've been playing in bands ever since. And like Brian, like, it's like it's like there and back again, where it's like you get into the really extreme shit, and now you like just listen to Judas Priest and the first 2 Iron Maiden records now. Like, and I have a theory, is because like whenever I meet other bands, I always, I feel like the best bands I always like are always like people who listen to like the classic metal stuff but make extreme metal.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, man. That's like kind of a working theory I have right now. Like, it's like someone just listens to Rainbow all the time, but then they play like death metal or black metal or something,
And it's cool. It's cool having a punk dude in the band too, like throwing that in the mix.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really say like I've identified as a punk ever since I've, was like 13 maybe, but like every once in a while I'll still like put on some shit, but like I wouldn't really necessarily call I mean, it's in there in that DNA, but I think it's like as soon as I discovered thrash, I was like, oh, this is like punk, but they know how to play their instruments.
Yeah.
That's how I wrapped my head around thrash metal, and I think that was like kind of my on-ramp to metal. And I mean, I grew up in a very musical family, so like I grew up listening to classical music, so I used to like blame like going to a Lutheran church with like a surround sound organ where all the hymns were Bach. I'm like, well, I've been listening to heavy shit, since going to church,
Mm-hmm.
So, it's, I love jazz and bluegrass and shit. So it's like, my tastes are all over the place kind of thing. But
Hell yeah. What about you, Rebecca? What are some of your influences?
It's funny. I'm in the same boat there with being all over the place. Like, I didn't grow up with music. I was like super sheltered as a kid and homeschooled, and didn't really break into heavy music until I was trying to break out of that. So I think, I was a child of the 90s. My first heavy music was probably Korn, which I actually really hate Korn now. But just over
the first albums are right. I mean,
I know. I'm gonna get shit for that. It is what it is. But I grew up with Korn, Eminem. I'm still proud of Eminem. My parents hated Eminem, and they broke all my CDs in half and threw them in the garbage when they found that one. So, I still go back to that stuff once in a while just for fun. But I've changed a lot. Like, I just listen to everything. Like, I can't get enough music, and I'll go from like garage rock, like I'll listen to the Doors. I'll wake up and I'll be listening to like bluegrass or heavy metal. I'm all over the map. I think I got one of those Spotify Wrapped this year, and it was like 220 genres that I listened to or something. So it's crazy. Like, I just love music. But if I had to talk about heavy music, I think my top 3 bands are probably Saturnalia Temple. They're not their newer stuff, but Black Magic Metal, like that album's great. And I love Goat Lord and Cough. Those are probably my top 3.
Man, you mentioned Korn, and it reminds me of. I remember the first time I saw them live, they were opening up for Megadeth, and me and my friends, when I was in high school, we were all going to see Megadeth, and my mom took us, and my mom was always getting into new stuff, and she was all excited about Korn, and we were like, I was kind of embarrassed about it. I'm like, Mom, shut up, quit talking about that. And she made this little flag, and she wrote Korn on it, and she was like carrying it around, and she was like, yeah, they're so cool. And
meet your mom.
We got there, and we were in the crowd, and they came on. They did kick some ass, and she was in the pit, and she was jumping around. She's like, this is so much fun. I'm like,
that was the Euthanasia tour, right?
Yes.
If you grew up in that era, I mean, you had.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, right? Like,
the weird thing.
Ryan's a little older, so he doesn't appreciate.
No, I appreciate it, because like the first time I heard Korn and like new metal stuff, I was like, "What is this?" Like, I didn't understand.
Yeah.
I didn't really get it. But the weird thing about Korn and like the whole new metal scene is that it really formed out of. I think it was like the guitar player from Détente, which like he was like responsible for that sound, which is weird because I mean if you listen to that band, I mean they're like a awesome thrash band. What was that guy's name? It was like something like I forget, Ross something.
Ross Robinson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean it's kind of strange. Like
I know. I mean that guy's still producing stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like a huge name. I mean,
yeah, but I mean, he was really responsible for that like new metal sound. I think he did that Sepultura album too, though.
Roots.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, apparently, he was also responsible for like getting like a lot of those new metal guys to like talk about like introspective lyrics.
Mm-hmm.
And like apparently he threw Jonathan Davis into like a psychiatric like crisis because he was like, no man, you got to write songs about like your childhood and shit, because they were like writing stuff about normal metal kind of topics. He's like, nah man, do this. It's like
maybe it's still Dawn Crosby then.
Yeah.
I mean, that's such a tragedy.
Yeah.
It was pretty far out there. I we're looking back. I mean, fucking, the detuned guitars and everything, like the sound of it was pretty cool. But like I'm almost 50, so like I grew up with the 80s stuff as well. You know, that was my introduction.
Sure.
Iron Maiden and Motley Crue and all that kind of stuff, and then transitioned into thrash with Metallica and Slayer, and then death metal and then black metal and so on and so forth. But like, I've always been following, you know, just whatever kids are coming out with, you know, whatever's new, you know, like just the heavier, you know, like, and seeing where it goes. And I'm always amazed, you know, just all the different transitions and different things that people are coming out with, man. Like, you know, some of the stuff nowadays, just it's insane, man. Like, it's like, what the fuck are they even doing? Like, it's crazy.
You know what I'm excited about is all the like fantasy themed stuff that's starting to pop up everywhere. Like,
a lot of nerds getting into the game.
It's like everywhere right now. There's you know, Dungeon Synth is getting huge, and there's like all these bands calling themselves dungeon metal, which we're just like, what the hell is this?
Which we were the first, by the way, let it be known.
Oh yeah. But yeah, I think it's super cool. Like, and there's a lot of cool thrash coming out of Philly, and it's interesting.
It is, man. It's a cool time right now, I think, to be into all this heavy music, because there's so many different things that are going on, and so many different avenues. But yeah, the Dungeons and Dragons type thing, man, it's definitely there's a big fucking thing right now with it.
Yeah.
Especially, I mean, over in Europe, it's been going for a while too, though. Like, it's it's different over there, but yeah.
I really love all the like 70s hard rock revival shit that comes out of Sweden, like the Horizons and Graveyard.
Yeah.
Like that kind of I was on like a 15-year kick with that shit, man. Like, just injected in my veins.
Well, speaking of, tell us about tell us about these tones and these sounds that you guys are getting on. You know, like what kind of for the gearheads out there, myself included, but I know there's a lot of them listening. What kind of amps, pedals, fucking guitar strings, and fucking shit? Like, what kind of stuff are you guys using to get these sounds?
Well, for the longest time, we were part of the PV cult, where we just PV amplifiers.
PV power.
Yep. I mean, that's all I use. Like, I have a handful of PV amps, and it's funny. I use an incredibly cheap digital guitar processor for my tone. So, like, my tone does not come from my head. I just use that as basically as a power amplifier. I set everything flat and turn the amp up the whole way, and my tone is completely comes from a digital processor. So yeah, I mean that's where my guitar tone comes from. Andrew's way different.
What is it? What are you using?
I use an RP360 XP.
The Digitech.
Digitech.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a $300 processor when it came out.
Yeah, and I still have mine.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I just dialed in a bunch of stuff that I really liked. It doesn't record very well, but live it comes off like a tank, I think. So.
What kind of head are you using? What are you plugging it into?
I have a PV Mark IV, and Andrew actually has the same amp but the bass version. Like there was a period in time where, like, I think that head falls into the period of where, like, it was a bass head that guitarists use.
Yeah,
it was like the late '70s, early '80s. That's the one that I have. And then I also have I pull a Greg Ginn, you know, going back to the whole punk thing of Black Flag. I play out of a PA system too, like every once in a while. I used to use it when Becky and I were a two-piece, so I would have I'd run like tandem amps, like two amps at the same time. One would be my bass tone, and the other would be my guitar tone. Dude, same processors on both.
Dude, I bought a Valve King, PV Valve King from Guitar Center for dirt cheap like a few years ago, man. And that thing is fucking insane. I love it, man. Like, I can't believe it's so cheap. It doesn't make any
Yeah,
sense.
they call him the poor man's son.
Yeah. But I mean, you put a good boost in front of that and put an EQ in the fucking loop, and it's like it's over, man. It's fucking just it's like a fucking volcano, man. It's like insane, dude.
Yeah.
It's crazy, man. Yeah. I was watching a video, Glenn Fricker on YouTube, man, and he was talking about it. And he was showing a side-by-side comparison of that and the Soldano, and he was showing that it was reaching like the same fucking frequencies and shit. And I was like, no fucking way, man. And then I seen one come up on Guitar Center for dirt cheap, and I was like, fuck it, man, why not? Yeah, he wasn't lying, man. Fucking, it definitely does the trick.
Nice. Is that a tube head?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Like all my stuff's solid state. Like I've never owned a tube head.
That's what I used to always use, like, you know, but I never owned a tube amp until that, and then I was just like, fuck it, man. I want to see what all the fucking hoopla is about, you know, like, because everybody's always talking about it, you know, like, I don't know if
you saw the light.
I don't know if there's that much of a difference, to be honest with you. Like, when you're pushing that much fucking gain into something, and especially if you're using fuzz pedals and shit like that, like, it's, you know, I don't know, man. Like, the kind of stuff that we do, like, it's like, it gets so fucking crazy. There's so much fucking gain. It's like, can you really tell? But it definitely, it sounds cool.
Right on.
What kind of pedals? What kind of pedals are you guys using? I know you got some fuzz pedals in there.
I just use Digitech. That's all I use. Like in my setup.
It's all come from that. That's fucking crazy, man. That sounds good, dude.
Yeah. It's just Oh, thank you. Andrew, I'll let him talk here. That like he's got a whole different setup.
Yeah, I mean, I've got like a bunch of PVs. We were using the PVs for a while just to kind of be like, oh, all PV all the time. So I was using a musician head for a while, which I loved. And actually, I saw another one on Facebook Marketplace for $50, so I might have to go get it. But, you know, it's that rule. You should never pay more than $100 for PV stuff. So yeah, I was using the musician head, then I had the bass 400 head. But the thing is, like with bass, it like those old PVs, they don't have enough power. Like they sound great in a practice setting, and the second you take them live, it's just like they're not up to the task. And I found this one amp that we loved called the PV Mega Bass. And Brian, like, yeah, so it was the early 90s. It was their first digital amp. They called it a digital amp. And the cool thing with that amp is you could bi-amp it. It was like two heads in one, basically. And I like that because so when we play live, I have the most massive bass cab that you will come across. Like no one will ever bring more power, more guns to a gunfight with a single cab than I will. I have a 3620 cab, so it has two 18s and then two 10s. And I had that fitted out with like nice speakers. I can't tell you what speakers they are. From I don't know if you ever heard of Big Crunch amps down in Baltimore. They hooked it up. So that thing's massive, and so like you need to have like a massive head. And so I was excited because with the PV Mega Bass, I could run one amp to the two 10 speakers and then the other amp to the two 18s, and I could like independently EQ them, which I was very excited about. But I've had nothing but I had one show where it played well, and it's been like nothing but problems. So I had to bust out my old reliable, which is the Mesa Boogie Bass 400 Plus.
Hell yeah!
So bringing some old tubes, you know. Cliff Burton, he didn't use a 400 Plus. He used a 400 though, so it's like kind of the same, you know, same kind of family.
Fuck yeah, man!
Heads. And, you know, I grew up absolutely worshiping Cliff Burton. I don't play anything like him, but I mean, I absolutely love that man.
Dude, Cliff Burton was the shit, man. Fucking
yeah, oh yeah. so yeah, I grew up idolizing him. I used to have flare jeans in the mid 2000s. Like almost just as much out of water as he was in the 80s wearing. So I run a bass. So when I practice, I got a 215, which is nice. But and then I run it through. I've been experimenting. Like I have right now, I'm actually running the HM2 pedal.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, and so I got that. I got a bass synth because, here and there I like to kind of like bring out some synthy stuff when we're playing live, like sparingly, because it can get very overpowering. But you can get like a cool, like almost John Lord type sound out of it, which is amazing. So I basically run the HM2 through a Sans amp to like kind of compensate because like it's a guitar pedal,
Yeah.
But it's the thing is, especially with like music like this, there's only so much distortion in the bass, like kind of have to like keep the low end cranking, So yeah, so I just run the HM2 through the Sans amp through the Mesa Boogie 400 plus, call it a day.
Man.
And I play Ibanez Destroyer from 1984.
Fucking badass, dude.
Yeah, and what's crazy about it is because we tune so damn low. We tune to B flat standard. So I don't believe in 5-string basses. It's like my anti-nu metal thing. So I actually run the bottom 4 strings of a 5-string bass. So I do B, E, A, D on a 4-string bass, and I tune it down a half step.
The 4-string motherfucker.
That's right. Major Rager.
Hell yeah, dude. Dude, that reminds me.
I love how he says the there. He's like, Anda. It's like real tonguey.
Dude, that reminds me, man. Fucking back in the early '80s, I remember reading about Metallica in the magazines. Like Metal Maniacs and shit like that.
Sure.
They'd always be in there, but MTV and stuff would never really play them at the time. So I didn't even know how to actually say the name. And I remember,
how'd you say it?
One time I was going down the street on my skateboard, and there was these teenagers that were standing at the corner, and they were wearing Metallica shirts. And I got down there and looked at them. I was like, "Hey, you guys listen to Metallica, huh?"
I used to say that too. I used to say that too.
They laughed their asses off, man. They're like, "Look at this fucking kid." I had no idea, man.
Yeah. I would consider myself a scholar of Metallica at this point. There used to be a website in the late 90s that was literally called like the Met. It was like an encyclopedia of just Metallica and stuff.
Hell yeah.
I've gone down such a rabbit hole with them. And I'm a load defender too, so
Oh yeah, yeah. Dude, I remember when my buddy that I lived near, he had the Cliff Mall video, and he brought that over one time and let me borrow it, and I was watching that, and that just fucking blew me away, man. Like it just totally fucking addicted, man.
That Chicago show, man, on the Kill 'Em All tour is like.
I'm gonna probably date myself here, but I actually saw Metallica on their Master Puppet tour.
Hell yeah.
Brian has the trump card with that,
I have the what?
You have the trump card with that.
Trump card.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, my real trump card is some of the merch that I have. Like,
yes.
I've got like a handful of things from Metallica that
should be insured
from the '80s. Like, absolutely mint. Like, I have a back patch and some shirts and stuff.
Yeah, I really like the Load fucking album now, dude. Like, at the time when it came out, I didn't like it at all. I was mad as fuck. But, like, now that I'm older, when I listen to it, I fucking love it, dude. Like, there's some good fucking songs on there, man.
Bleeding Me is one of the favorite songs ever written.
Ain't My Bitch, fucking...
Yeah, dude. Ain't My Bitch is funny because it's literally, like, his vocal cadence is the same as Blitzkrieg.
Yeah. And that
like you could literally take the lyrics for Blitzkrieg and sing it over "Ain't My Bitch." I used to do that. I used to get drunk in college and do that.
Yeah, and those riffs that he was playing in that are pretty fucking badass, man. But like, they get overlooked, you know. Like everybody's just, I know. Looking back, you know, when it came out at the time, it was like, why the fuck did they cut their hair? Why are they wearing makeup? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, everyone wanted them to go back to like Injustice for All Master Puppets, but
yeah, but that's not gonna.
That
happen.
horse left the barn.
But I don't know. They've kind of redeemed themselves now. You know, like they're back to doing the fucking fast shit and heavy stuff as much as they can.
I like that Hardwire. I mean, the latest one was kind of boring, the 72 seasons, but I mean, they had some right stuff on it.
So tell us what do you guys have planned? What's coming next for Cultic, man? What's you have anything you want to announce?
I think we have a show at the end of February at the Auto Bar in Baltimore. I'm not sure what day it is yet, but that's the only thing we have lined up right now, as far as like shows.
Yeah, we kind of put the album out, and then we're taking a step back to refocus, start writing some new stuff, and there's new songs in the mix already. There's talk about themes for the next album already, so
Gears are always turning.
yeah, we seem to be on a course for putting an album out about once every 2 years. It takes us about that long to write music, put it all together, record it, do the video, do the art. So we DIY everything. So probably be another 2 years to do another full length. That's my guess. But
yeah,
You
no EPs. I'm done with that.
yeah, we're not we don't do singles and EPs. That's not our thing. I know that's big right now, but
fucking albums, dude. Full albums,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Man, fuck the world, dude. Fuck the fucking trends, dude. Fucking put out a full album, man.
That's right.
I mean, speaking of full fucking albums, you guys fucking have how many tracks on this fucking record, man? Fucking 18.
18.
What
that's
the
if you
fuck?
count the Dungeon Siege, yeah.
It's crazy, man. Like nobody does that.
Yeah.
We did.
Cool as hell, man.
Thank you.
Hell yeah. You were asking me at one point, we were talking in an email, I think, about festivals. You were asking me about the festival and stuff. You were saying that you guys were thinking about possibly doing something like that yourselves.
Yeah, I think we definitely prefer to look into doing more small fests and things like that.
Oh no, he's talking about like we were talking about like we always joke about like putting together our own festival.
Yeah, we should.
We always joke about it, like, oh yeah, we're gonna move out.
Thing. It is. I don't know if we'll ever do that.
And do it, you know, like have a camping festival or something. Like, but I mean, it's a pipe dream. You know, like
yeah.
I mean, I at this point at least, I mean, we're working 2 full-time jobs and stuff.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Hey man, you never know. Like it was a pipe dream with us, you know, and we did it, and we're now getting ready to do the fifth one, I think.
Right on, man. I mean,
awesome.
I commend you for that. I mean, I know how much work goes into that.
It's crazy. Oh my god, like what the fuck?
Yeah.
So yeah,
It's not all your thing too. It's not like you're, you know.
You got to deal with so many people that are fickle and crazy. And
yeah. Everybody asks us like, what's it like? And I'm like, you know what? It's a fucking nightmare all year long, and then it's one day of absolute fucking bliss. Like one day of just
it, right?
pure heaven. The rest of it is fucking hell, man.
we're friends with a promoter around here that put together a festival, like an annual festival every year. And actually we're friends with a handful of people that do that. And I mean, we know how the ups and downs just from what we hear. So like, bravo to you, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. All right. Well, I guess I'm about out of questions for you guys. Is there anything else you want to let the people know?
Yeah, go buy our album.
Yeah.
Buy shit, bang your head until it doesn't bang anymore, you know?
Where's the
Culticband.com.
Where's the best place for them to go right now? And it's Bandcamp Friday too, man.
Yeah.
Actually, Bandcamp is probably the best.
Yeah. Just look up Cultic on Bandcamp.
Sign up for our mailing list. Like our mailing list, people get access to things that other people don't, like discounts and stuff like that.
Hell yeah. All right, well, before I let you guys go, can I get you to make us a station tag real quick?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Whenever you're ready, say something like, "This is Cultic, and you were listening to Metal Devastation Radio."
This is Cultic, and you're listening to Metal Devastation Radio.
Hell yeah, that's fucking awesome, man. Perfect. Hell yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much for taking the time to talk to us. I really appreciate it. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to blast some more Cultic for these motherfuckers so they go crazy.
Nice meeting you, dude.
Crank that shit.
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, man. Take care.
All right, later. There you have it, folks. Cultic live on the Zach Moonshine Show with Metal Devastation fucking Radio. Like I said earlier, put your speakers in your windows, put them in your front lawns, put them in your neighbor's driveway. Do whatever the fuck you got to do. If you don't see U-Haul trucks everywhere tomorrow, what the fuck is wrong with you, man? Like, seriously, dude. Don't be fucking scared. All you got to do is crank the fucking volume till your fucking house is shaking, till the whole neighborhood is shaking. And you will feel it. You will see it. You will see U-Haul trucks appear tomorrow magically. I promise.